Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Curiosity with Mz.ChiGurl. As you can see, I have my host again, Just Another Boy. Hi, Just Another Boy.
Hey, what's up?
How
How
have
are
you
you?
been doing?
I've been all right. Just tired, Daylight savings time. I haven't been able to get back on schedule since time change. So,
Here you are, here you are. Actually, I had a rough week this week too, and so I haven't really like done any content. So this is my first content in a while. So actually, probably since the last time we spoke.
you're
So
slacking.
it's good to be acting. Oh wow, now I'm slacking. No, as I've discussed with everybody else, I have health issues, and I told you, I actually had a procedure on Wednesday, so I just haven't been feeling well since then. So yeah, so I'm just getting back into it, and so I'm hoping this will be a good topic. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while, and it's kind of based off of a conversation we've had and just things I've seen recently in pop culture as well. So today's topic is: should we spoil black children, yay or nay?
Yes.
And so let me get to it.
I mean, like, what else do you need to say? Go ahead, but yes, go ahead. I mean, by all means.
So I was telling you, and this was some years ago, about how I just got a new car and I was letting my son drive it. And so the man I was dating at that time was like, "You letting him drive your brand new car?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Actually, I feel more comfortable with him driving my new car as opposed to my old car because it kept breaking down. So why wouldn't I let him?" And he was like, "He hasn't earned the right to be in a new car." He was like that. He actually, what he said he should do is he should save up his money, get him a little beater, and then drive that around. And so when I was talking to you about it, you were saying that you had just bought, I think, your son a car. I'm gonna let you speak to it. So do you kind of vaguely remember our conversation
I
about that?
I do remember this. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So no, go
this
ahead.
this is what I would say. So, I mean, we have these mindsets, right, that we've
Mm-hmm.
taken like. So I'm of two minds, right? I'm of the
Mm-hmm.
mindset that kids should work for what they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, once you do it, you save, you earn it, it means more to you, right?
Right.
But at the same time, it's like I had to do that, and do I really want my kid to be, you know, to do the same things I did?
Mm-hmm.
But it also depends on the kid.
Right.
And I'll expand on that as we go on, but I think it depends on the kid and some kids need this, and it
Mm-hmm.
brings different things. And then some kids, I think what your friend was really trying to say was this about the kids. If you give it to them, they won't work for it. They'll mistreat it, that type of thing. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. So just to kind of expound on this topic and everything, the reason why I was thinking about it because I feel like sometimes we as black people as a culture, we judge each other and probably in a negative way when we do certain things for our children. And so I'm gonna give you some examples about it, and then we could talk about it. But like, so I'm gonna bring up what I saw recently in the pop culture news. So on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, it premiered last week, and there was this one person. I want to say her name was Kelly. She's a single mom now, or no, she's going through a divorce. She has four daughters. So they were celebrating her daughter's 17th birthday. And she bought her daughter 17 gifts for her birthday.
Okay.
And then she said that her daughter is into purses. And so she bought her all these high end purses. Like she got a Chanel, she got a Prada, she got this, she got that. And it was like, at least for me, I'm gonna say I was judging. I was like, what the hell? What does 17-year-old need with those kind of gifts? And I was like, this was completely, I think, over the top, unnecessary, and a waste of money. And then I said, you're judging people like people judge you about
Hmm.
letting your son drive your car. And I was like, I am, but I'm like, I think that was just wasteful for a 17-year-old. What are your thoughts?
It really depends. I think if you have the financial means to do it, and it's your child, why not? I think we have to also think that this is a TV show, and the housewives are built around people being like cluelessly fabulous,
Mm-hmm.
and out of touch. So without that level of drama, like who tunes in and watches, right? Like right now, we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would do 17, purses or 17 whatever, but like it's her money.
Oh, so that's your mindset.
Well, okay,
So,
so wait. A few years
okay.
ago, on this same Housewives, and I haven't watched this in a while, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember Candy Burris saying, like, someone was upset that she bought her daughter like a very expensive car,
Right.
and she made some statements about, I'm struggle, like I'm not struggling. Why would I want my child to struggle? The whole
Mm-hmm.
point of me working hard is so that my kids don't have to struggle. So
Right.
I understand that mentality, and I had to think about it for a bit. It's like, well, yeah, why would you
Mm-hmm.
do that if you could have it, for them to be a little bit better?
Right.
So, but I don't know. I'm of two minds. Maybe by the end
Right.
of this episode, I would have made a decision. We'll see.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up. So let me get your opinion about this. So this was some years ago. Kendrick Lamar, the rapper,
Yeah.
recent Grammy winner, he bought his cousin a brand new Honda Accord, and people on social media tore him apart. Now, mind you, she's 16, graduating or whatever, and he bought her a Honda Accord. And they were like, why did he buy her a Honda Accord? And so everybody was split. People were saying, why should he buy her anything other than a Honda Accord? She's 16. At least she has a free new car, you know? And then other people were like, he should have bought her a Mercedes or a Porsche or whatever the latest cars are. What are your thoughts about that?
I think you're gonna always have those two extremes, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always going to be someone that says you didn't do enough.
Right.
Yeah. Because they assume, well, you have a lot of money, you can just do whatever. Like Oprah builds a school in Africa. Well, she hasn't done it in the US, right? There's always going to be that
Okay.
antagonist, protagonist type of thing. So I think Kendrick did what he thought was best.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably consulted with, the child's mother. And the
Mm-hmm.
child's mother said, hey, I think this is appropriate. And that's what they did. So it makes sense to me. Plus, think about it like this. This is a 16, 17-year-old. If you buy them a Mercedes, they have to do maintenance. And where they
Right.
won't have maintenance for the first couple years on that vehicle, they still oil changes cost a lot of money on
Mm-hmm.
expensive brands. So it made sense for him to buy something that, she could afford to perform the maintenance on. And I think actually us as adults need to do that as well. Because
Right.
you'll see us go out and buy an expensive vehicle, and this is not what we're talking about on this episode. But we can't, buy new tires when they need to.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm.
hmm,
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up because, okay, so I can relate to that with my situation with my son. So my son is now 25 and he now has a full-time job and everything. And so we've been sharing that same car that I was talking about. But now because of return to office and other things, having one vehicle in this household just doesn't work anymore. So we've been looking to getting a new car for him. And actually, let me rephrase it. No, actually, what he was going to do, he wanted my car because he was used to it already. And I was supposed to get the new car. And I was like, well, I don't want a new car because I don't want a car note,
right. I mean,
But I know we need another vehicle. And so we've been pondering and pondering the whole thing. And basically, the only reason why he didn't take my car is because my car, for some reason, been hit twice in 1 year and I'm not in it. Yes. And so
What?
he said, yes.
Okay.
So it got hit in September. I got it fixed in November. Then it got hit in December. Yeah. And it's parked. And there were two different locations. One was at job, and then one is in front of our home. So to that, he was like, you know what? Too much stuff has happened to your car. I'm just going to get me a new car. So, of course, I went with him to get his new car and everything because I felt like he didn't really understand how much it really takes to maintain a car, like you're saying. And so I wanted to make sure that he had a car note that he would be comfortable with, as well as, understanding that there are other expenses that come along with the car. And so we got the car. He got a brand new car. So it's a 2025. He got
Congrats.
the same car as me.
Congrats. Nephew. Come on.
Thank you. And so his car payment I felt was higher than what I've ever had. I said I wouldn't pay that much. But he is living at home. That's the other thing. So I'm gonna get into that as far as another topic as well. But he lives at home. He contributes to the household. But I'm taking care of all the bills. So he just basically gives me money and I pay all the bills. Like I've tried to get him off my cell phone, and every time we would go to the AT&T store, they would say, it's better for him to stay on you as a family plan.
Well, that's true. I mean,
The point is, I wanted him to get used to paying his own bills, is what I was trying to do.
well, give him a house bill.
I guess. Yeah, you're right. But this is how we do it now. So he just gives me a bulk and I pay everything. So I pay his car insurance. He gives me the money for it. And the car note, he's now going to be paying on his own. Um, but I did tell him, I said, now that you're gonna have a bill that you're paying, and I'm now my mother's at the age, she's 79. She doesn't feel that she's able to take care of her finances like she used to. So she now put me in charge of paying her finances. So I pay my finances and I pay her finances. And so I was like, well, why don't you take care of our finances, is what I told my son. And then I could just focus on grandma's. And he was like, nah, I think it works, right? You don't find the way it is.
Yeah.
So it's like every time, but I will admit this was me. When I graduated from college, my mother wanted me to take over paying my life insurance. I said, nah, you could pay it. Never, I didn't start paying my life insurance till I was like in my late 40s. She paid it that whole time.
We want to break that. I'm gonna call it a generational curse. We want to
Okay.
make sure he's not 40 and you're still paying. Well, actually, that wouldn't be so bad, right? Because it's life insurance. You
Hmm.
know, if it's something else, like he's living somewhere else and you're paying the rent or mortgage, then yeah.
Right. So, okay, so I guess my question is, should am I spoiling him? Because that's where I was thinking. I was like, if something happens to me, especially knowing all the issues I'm dealing with, is he gonna know how to take care of himself? Because I'm taking care of everything. But I will say, since he's had this car, he was like, he didn't know really how much or how expensive gas was because it was my car. I split it. So one week he paid, the next week I paid. And so he didn't realize how much it was for gas. And he said, every time I look up, I got to fill this car up. And it's this much and it's that much. And I said, see? So anyway, so what are your thoughts about that? Do you think that I need to maybe get some of this weight off of me, or is it fine that it's going the way it is, at least in my situation? Or how would you handle the situation in your household as a parent?
I totally want to judge you and answer this question. I
Well, we
totally,
do that. You
I,
see how I was
I,
judging
I
that woman, but
totally
go
want to
ahead.
judge you on this because I mean, I want to get all into this, right?
Hmm.
I mean, 25, 25. So at 25, right? I mean, no judgment. I'm not about just pushing the kids out of the nest, right? Like, but at
Hmm.
25, responsibility should be there. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense for you to start offboarding some of that stuff from off of you onto
Mm-hmm.
him, right? And where I think I would have done differently, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
straddling this because I don't want to be offensive, right, to our listeners and
Mm-hmm.
viewers, is I would want, instead of asking him if he wants to, I'd probably be like, hey, you need to do this. And I know that that's tricky with, telling him what he needs to do because he's an
Right.
adult.
Right.
But also just realize that he's also not asking. And you posed like the perfect question when you
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I'm getting older and I'm doing this for my mom and I want to ensure that he can do this if I'm not here. So that is the
Right.
reason why I think it makes sense to sit him down, have that intelligent conversation that we need to have about financial literacy, financial
Mm-hmm.
wealth,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things that we needed probably, on our side,
Mm-hmm.
and more, and do that
Mm-hmm.
while you still can do it. Because at 25, I can tell you I was in my own house, and it
Right.
wasn't because I couldn't stay at home; it was because I was fast.
Take us fast because, like with me, like I told him at 25, that's when I had him. And
Yeah,
so, like he always talks about how he can't afford stuff. And I said, Chris, your salary is more than double what my salary was when I
yeah, but
had you.
costs are higher too now.
Yeah, I know inflation. But I'm just saying that, I told him, I said, I had the same job that he has. I had him. I got a car and I had an apartment and I was paying all my stuff. But I will say this, so let me get your thoughts about this, and then I want to bring up a commentator that I heard and his perspective about this whole subject. So like when I came home from college, I was trying to find an apartment and I was trying to find a job while I was living 6 hours away in college and I couldn't find one. And so like I was doing my best to find one. Like I drove to Chicago, stayed the night with a family member, went to a job interview, then drove back home to go to work the next day at my job back in the other city. And that was because I was trying to do everything I could to get things in place before I came home from college. Nothing worked. And so when my lease was up, I tried to move home with my mom. And my mom was like, "Where are you going to live?" And I was like, "With you." And she said, "Who said that?" She did.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Who lets go of a job and a apartment and you don't have a next step?" And I said, "My next step was to come home." I said, "All my other friends, when they came home from college, they went home." I said, "You mean tell me I can't stay with you?" She let me stay with her for 2 weeks. And then she found me somewhere else to stay.
Mommy
So,
dearest. I mean, like, mommy was really dearest. She was. I'm okay. So, but what did that do for you, though? Right? Like,
I I don't feel like it helped at all. It was just we couldn't be in the same place because I will say that the 2 weeks that I was there was a strain because she kept trying to treat me like the child I was before I went to college.
hmm
And I felt like I'm grown. You know? You like it was like when I was, a child, they would tell me to do stuff and I just did it. And whereas when I came home as an adult, I was like, you can't just tell me to do it. You have to ask me. I might have plans, And they didn't see it that way. When I say that, I'm talking about it wasn't just her, it was my whole family. So it was like aunts and uncles. They were used to telling me, go do this, go do that. I was like, what the hell? I'm grown. Y'all can't just tell me. You gotta ask me, hey, can you do this? Because I might have plans. And so it was a big struggle. And actually, it didn't stop until I got pregnant. I guess that's when they saw me as an adult.
I
What
guess.
are your thoughts about that? So I'm saying that for me, I wasn't even able to go back home after college. And so what wound up eventually happening is that my mother put down my first and last month's rent, and she got me a studio. And then after that, by that time, so because the place I was staying before that was a family member's and it was a bad situation, I gave myself a deadline to get out of that situation. And I was like, I got to find a job by this point. And I did.
That's
And
what
so I don't, but I think that was more me than it was that situation. But it helped me set a timeline, though, you know?
I just want to make sure I have something straight. So when
Okay.
your mom, mommy dearest, found your first place, you had a job.
I didn't have a job. So it took me 2 months after getting home, well, a month and a half after getting home. I was like, once I got here, I figured I would be able to get a job because I had experience because I worked when I was at my, college. And so she helped me move out, out of the situation I was in with the family member. And she gave me the money to, get an apartment because I had a job.
Would she have given you that money before going to stay with your family member?
It doesn't seem like it. I think it was because the situation with the family member was so bad that that's why she felt bad for putting me in that situation.
Mm, got it. Well, I mean, for you, it sounds like she was trying to keep you out of the nest,
Hmm.
and she wanted you to be independent. And based
Hmm.
on stories that I've heard about your son over the last 15 years, she's truly has tried to coddle him because,
Hmm.
it's that same lineage that happens. Like I would say they beat the hell out of us when we were kids.
Right.
And then
Right.
now that with the grandkids, they're like, "Don't touch them, don't do this," and
Yep.
things has come totally changed. And I think we all experience that, and it's not even just our cultures, other cultures as well. But
Hmm.
you know, I think maybe some of that you need to try to find a way to do with your son because I mean he is 25 and he needs that additional responsibility. And in my household, it's a little bit different.
Hmm.
I've been pushing that probably more similar to the way I grew up.
Mm.
Like school is a priority,
Right.
and you get these things like you got a new car at 16, but that's because you made good grades. You don't have to,
Right.
you don't have to make payments, but there are responsibilities that you have to do. So I think just like I was when I was 18, I wanted to leave the house. I wanted
Hmm.
to get out because I hated it there, on some levels.
Right.
Um, you know, I think we now make it too comfortable
Hmm.
for kids, and they don't want to leave. So
Right.
how do you manage that? I don't know. And then it also too, it's generational. Like these kids in this
Right.
generation just want to be under you. They don't play
Right.
outside. We played outside until the street lights. So I don't get it. So I
Well,
think
it's
you're good.
more. I think the whole thing about the not playing outside was it was safer for us back then.
Was it?
Like it seemed like it to me. I mean, I didn't have the problems that I think my son would have. Like I'm worried about him getting shot and beat up, and you know, it was like it seemed like back in the day, kids were kind of off limits, except for let's say the pedophiles or whatever. But nowadays, like gangs could be shooting. Like I don't think the gangs were after the kids. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seemed like the whole situation as far as kids getting killed is more not a thing as far as like they could be in the middle innocently get killed, because of gunfire. I guess is what I'm thinking of. I mean, and it's just not safe for the kids anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not safe to be in your own house now. You can get
I
shot.
know, right?
Depending on where you live, right? Things can happen within your
It,
home.
it don't even matter now. Like, look at what they're doing. It's finally got to the point. It's not even safe downtown. Like my mother, when I was growing up, my mother told me that I can only stick to certain areas. So, like the areas I could go to was downtown, Hyde Park, and that was it. Of course, I was not listening to that, and I would go to Evergreen Park, whatever else. But I did predominantly stay in those areas, you know, because like I said, I was fast, and I was trying to go where the boys were, and the boys were at Evergreen Park, or back then it was Evergreen Plaza. But anyway, so I was trying to go to the mall where the boys were.
Yeah.
Topic.
You heard that right from her. She was at Evergreen Park with the boys. Now, Miss Shy Girl, I have to ask, what were
What?
you doing at Evergreen Park with the boys?
Do nothing. Me and my friends were going actually to the movies. They used to have a movie theater there. And so we would go to the movies or we would just go shopping. It was a mall. You just were going to meet boys. We weren't doing nothing yet.
Okay.
We were trying to get phone numbers, give our phone numbers, rather.
Okay.
Increase our odds of getting boyfriends.
I don't believe that, but all right.
Innocent.
Okay. Do y'all believe
Oh,
that? Just
good girl.
in the
The
comments.
guys that I've dated will tell you I'm a good girl.
If you believe that in the comments, I want somebody to put I believe in the comments if they believe she was a good girl because she specifically says the guys. And if you go back to our previous episode, there was a question in that episode where I asked
Right.
about who are these people, these guys that you and with the smart devices. And she claims it was just some random people and
I ain't
including
say
me.
it was random. It was two people I dated.
Mm. Okay. All right. All right, Miss Shy Girl. I'm this is what
It's true. I am a good girl. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. We didn't got all off topic. The conversation is about spoiling black children. And another reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I think about in the Jewish religion, they celebrate their kids at 13 becoming, I guess, crossing over into the passage of being adults, if you will. And then at the bar mitzvah, and I don't know how you pronounce it differently because apparently there's two spellings, but it still sounds like bar mitzvah to me for the girls and the boys. And then at that time, the children receive all this money from everybody in their community, be it family or non-family, and that sets them up so that they can go into the world, after college or whatever, to do what they need to. And I think it gives them a great head start. And so I'm like, I think that is a great thing that a community as a whole would want to set their child up for success. Because we as children, like this was something I had a conversation with one of my friends from college, how we came out of college with bad credit. I know I did. Now, this was the one thing my mother did do for me where I was different from some other people. I came out of college with no student loans. My mother paid for college all by herself. My bad credit came from all the credit cards they pushed on you as kids. Like, I remember, you could get candy bars, you could get t-shirts for applying for credit cards. I had 11 credit cards in college. Didn't use them all. I used three, but that was enough to put me in debt.
of course.
I was trying to keep up with the Joneses because what I saw was the people who had student loans, when they got that student loan payment, they went to the mall. And, I grew up in the 90s when it was about Tommy Hilfiger and all that stuff. And I was like, I want some Tommy Hilfiger, some polo. So I was trying to keep up with the Joneses too. Anyway, what are your thoughts before I play this conversation that I want to talk about?
I would say that I think that was a good analogy about the bar mitzvah, and I'm
Mhm.
curious as to, the statistics around how much money they collect. But if we just
Right,
compared what they did with their kids and ours, I think I think maybe they are doing something right.
right,
Maybe, that is something that we should take on and look to do with our kids. Maybe we shouldn't be putting so much guardrails around, you need to earn it because that is a
right.
mentality that has passed on through captivity. That's the word I'm going to
Exactly.
use. So, maybe that's something we should try. But And then I'm just gonna add this little piece in there because I think we do that not really thinking about the consequences of it. We do it because we think, well, we've seen them, we've given them something, and they misused it, but they
Mm-hmm.
maybe they misuse it because they're not used to having it, you know,
Right.
and so
Exactly.
and if they have enough of it, it wouldn't really matter as much. So I don't know. It's a two-folded conversation. I don't think it's something that we could just debunk in this setting. So
I know. But I mean, that does give you a little understanding, especially like what I'm saying as far as um the people who had student loans buying Tommy Hilfiger, and then me not having student loans but getting credit cards and buying Tommy Hilfiger. So it's like we with money we didn't do, I guess, what you should do to kind of set yourself up after coming out of college. And we wound up, like I said, creating debt for ourselves and struggling. And I know it was a struggle for me. My son said that he felt when we were growing up that we were poor. And I said, we weren't poor. I said, I thought we were middle class. And he said, no, we were poor because there were times where I struggled to pay my light bill. But it was really me, what is it called? Struggling to pay Peter and pay Paul or
robbing
whatever
Peter
that.
to
No.
pay Paul, right?
Yes. And so, like, I would pay whatever bill was too far behind, but then the lights
Poor,
would get cut. What?
poor. You were poor. That's not
So,
middle class.
so the lights got cut off, but then I would call them and pay, that day. But we would have, then they would say, because it was like I wouldn't know the lights were cut off till I got home from work. And then they were like, oh, well, we can come back tomorrow and cut them on. And so we would spend the night in the dark.
That's what poor is. That's a part of it. The middle class lights
So,
aren't being
so
turned
you
on.
agreeing with him? We were poor.
I mean, it's okay. You need to accept that. You were poor.
I didn't think I was poor. I just thought that was like I got the lights cut on the next day. It's not like we went multiple nights
You
without.
said you were robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yes,
That's poor.
he always had.
The middle
Like,
class don't do that. The middle class don't do that. I'm sorry to tell you. I hate to break the news to you all this time. You were poor. It's okay. It's okay.
wait, I'm gonna play this recording. This
How
is
about she
so
middle
I
class?
listened to other commentators, and when I heard this commentator, this is actually from the Funky Dineva live show, January 16th, 2025. And somebody posed a question to him, and this was him answering it. And so I wanted to kind of talk about it. So I'm gonna play a little bit because I don't want to copyright violations and all that stuff. But
No.
anyway, here we go.
100. All right, y'all. So we got a question of the day. I love when I get a good question of the day from y'all. And this question of the day actually excited me. So the question of the day is, do you think parents should put their kids out at 18 or make them start paying bills at that age? Does this help them get ahead in life? 100% unequivocally disagree with putting children out at 18. 100% unequivocally disagree with putting children out at 18. I also 100% unequivocally disagree with your children go away to college that they can no longer live at your house. They're grown and they're out. I think that a lot of times, particularly in the black community, we do things because that's the way we saw our mama do it. That's the way she saw her mama do it. We do things out of tradition, and we do not understand where the tradition came from. And that putting children out at 18, guys, is a vestige of poverty. It's a vestige of poverty. It's mama and daddy had 6 kids to feed, and now that you're 18, and you are able to fend for yourself, we need you to lessen the load on mama and daddy, and you go fend for yourself. So now instead of me having 6 mouths to feed, now me and mama and daddy can breathe because we only have 5 mouths to feed. That's number one. That's the first thing. Number two, and I'm not a parent, but I've always felt this way. What does it say about you and the relationship that you have with your child that you don't want them around you anymore? You're like, get out. Get out. What does that say about you? What does that say about the bond that you have that you don't even want to participate to a small degree in them becoming young, thriving adults? That you're ready to just, bam, get out. It suggests to me that you don't like your child. You know what I'm saying? It's weird. And the way my mind works is that if I had children, I literally would want to give them every advantage that I did not have. Very quick story.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there because I saw you shaking your head. So, what were you shaking your head about?
Well, I mean, he said a lot, you know. I think that, I mean, he gave two answers.
Mm-hmm.
His question, it has really two parts in it.
Okay.
And part of that I agree with, and maybe some of it I slightly agree with, slightly don't agree with. And it's in regards to the part where he talks about the family, one of your kids to be out and not wanting to be a part of their lives. I don't think that wanting your kids to be self-sufficient, and I think that's what the parent is trying to do in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scenario, I don't think that they means they don't want to be a part of their lives. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about, oh, I can't feed you, I can't do this for you. It's more about, hey, you're an adult now. I need you to
Right.
stand up on your own. And then also too, right? Like that takes into complex the kid. I mean, some of the kids, and you said this earlier, when you came back, they were treating you like a kid, but also your thought process and your mind was, I'm grown. I can do all of these things. I can do
Right.
this, I can do that, I can do the other. And if you were like the kids are today,
Mm-hmm.
where they're mouthy and I'm grown, I'm this, I'm that, well, if you're grown and you're this and you're that, you need to be in your own space.
Right.
You can't do that and be in the same space, with me because I don't know that parents adequately know when to switch gears
Right.
with the kids and allow them to be adults.
Right.
But then also the kids don't know when to be adults and when to be a kid. So they want to
Right.
be a kid and not have to pay any bills. They want to be an
Mm-hmm.
adult and buy what they want, go come in and out as they please, disrespect your house as they please as well. So there's that conversation. I mean, he said a lot, and we don't have the time to break this
Right.
down. But that conversation goes both ways. That pendulum goes both ways. The kids
Right.
have to know their place to respect the house, and
Mm-hmm.
then the parents have to be able to do that. And that's very hard when you look at this person as your child.
Right. Right.
It's very hard to do that. And I think sometimes other races do look as their kids as being their kids and as being adults. But they don't
Mm-hmm.
carry the luggage and the baggage that we carry, that we
Right.
carried from slavery. They don't carry that with them. So
Exactly.
they could, save money for their kids because it's easier
Mm-hmm.
for them to do that. Where you was struggling about, okay, let me go pay this light bill, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Somebody
Right.
had a whole bunch of money in their account. Didn't have
Right.
to think about that. It was on auto pay.
Right.
It's kind of like we do
Right.
today. It's on auto pay.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
You got that exactly right. Now I'm on auto pay. But back then I was like, I can't get on auto pay. I don't know. I gotta figure out which bill I need to pay.
Yeah. So that's the difference in how not only how we think, but the financial part of it is different, and that's why you see people like the Candy Burses and whomever this was on the show that says, "I'm buying
Mm-hmm.
my daughter 17 purses," or I'm doing this outlandish thing for them because it's their birthday, and it's
Right.
something different from what I experience.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we to judge that?
I'm still saying, you don't need that at 17.
Maybe you
But let
don't.
me get, I know. But I think I guess, and maybe it's because I'm at that mindset, like you said, that I was poor, even though I didn't think I was poor. And I'm like, that money could. Oh, I got the perfect example for you, but I'm gonna tell you in a minute. That money, could be put towards something so that you don't have to struggle like I did. That you don't have to worry about lights getting cut off and this, that, and the third. But lost my thought as far as what I was gonna tell you about.
It'll come
But
back to you. But let me say this. That's the thing.
okay,
We see that happen, and then we put ourselves in their shoes. Couldn't be me. You know, black folks, we good for putting ourselves in those
yes,
shoes. I'm not doing that. And when you're mad at your own kids, you're not getting that. Don't even think about it.
right.
But that's just how we are as people. We want to live vicariously. We're easy, and eager to put ourselves in those shoes. And we don't know how this lady got this money. So that's why I say, allow them to do it. It's okay.
I
Just
know what I was
just
gonna
live
say.
at the bar mitzvah.
Hmm.
Everyone gave that kid probably thousands of dollars, at
Yep.
some point. Why not? It's the same thing. And the thousands of dollars, yeah, that has a monetary thing that you can do something with later on. Maybe those
Right.
purses you'll be able to sell.
Yeah, that's true. I know that certain purses they are, investments. Like if you get Hermes or what's that other one that everybody wants? I can't think of it. But anyway, those actually appreciate and are worth money. But I don't know. I still think 17 is wasteful. But like you said, that's me. And actually, this is what I was going to say that my son complains about all the time. My son, ever since he was born, if he asks me for something, I tell him to give me a list and I'll try and get one or two of them, right? And so now that he's older, I kind of would do the same thing and he'll tell me what he wants and I'll get it. Well, now he's at the point, well, instead of getting me stuff, why don't you just give me the money that's equivalent to that value? I'm like, oh no, you're wasted. So he's so mad at me. And he was like, why do you do that? He said, if I ask you for something that's $300, you'll actually buy it. But if I ask you to give me $300, you won't do it. And I said, because I feel like you're gonna waste it. And I'm like, it's better for me to just get it as opposed to you wasting $300 on some BS. I don't know why I'm like that, but it's true. I do that.
A lot of people are like that. I think it's because it's actual money. Even though you bought
Hmm.
that tangible item, it can still be wasted. It could be pawned.
Yeah.
But I mean, but you know your child. You know that he's wasteful with money. That's why you're saying that. And maybe that's the
I don't.
conversation to have with him, like where you're wasteful with your money, so I'm not giving it to you. And if you're gonna say to me, well, I don't feel like that, then give him the money.
But you know what it is? Maybe it's that the things that he values is different than what like I value.
That makes
And it's the
sense.
same thing with my mom. Like I was always into music as a child. And so, back in the days, they used to have those infomercials where you can get the top 100 Motown hits for 29.99 or something like that.
I worked
I
at
would
that call
get
center.
those things. You
Yeah,
said what?
I worked at that call center at 16.
Oh, get out. So I would get those things. Like I remember I bought the top 100 disco hits and I spent $30. And my mom was like, you spent $30 on, I think it was tapes. It was cassette tapes. But it was more than one. I want to say it was like five of them. And
Yeah.
she was like, you spent on some cassette tapes. And I said, Ma, it has all the top 100 disco hits that I love. I was like, I would have to buy each album, to get all those hits, whereas they're all compiled together. And I got it for $30. And she used to, talk about me because she thought that me spending all my money on records was a waste of money. I guess that's why, the things that like my son is into, I don't know what these cards are. He has a collection of these stupid cards, but he tells me how they're worth money. And he actually goes to comic book stores and he can sell them for $80, $40, $200. I told him, I said, it reminds me of scratch off lottery tickets because he has to buy a pack of them. And then in that pack, he might find a rare card, but he might not. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna keep us here to wrap it up. Do you have any closing thoughts on what we talked about today?
Yeah, I think people should just mind their own business and, you know, do what it is you feel like becomes maternal or paternal for your kids. Just, set them up for success in any way you can. And if that means spoiling them and somebody else doesn't like it, hell with it.
Okay. Well, my thoughts are it's okay to spoil your children, but maybe teach them how to invest or proper
Agreed.
financial education as
Agreed.
far as what to do with the money and not waste it. Because we work too hard, and I'm saying all of us as a community to get where we are for us not to be able to create generational wealth going forward. That's my thought. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap up our discussion today. Thank you guys for joining us. I hope you liked us. Again, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I know you've watched a long video with us, and I haven't mentioned it before, so I'm going to hammer it down in your head now. Please like and subscribe, please.
Please.
And we'll join you next time, hopefully with another thought-provoking question that you want to hear about. Thank you for joining us. Bye.